Oh no, that's mine. This he has no concept of personal space and
I don't think
is
I've ever met a
everywhere.
cat that does.
Yeah, he's real bad.
Loving the haircut, Jess.
Brandy, if you want to call the meeting to order, I will take roll.
Perfect. All righty. It is now 7 p.m. and the meeting for the Diversity and Equity Inclusion Committee is now, or Equity Inclusion Committee is now in session.
I'm going to take roll. Jessica Loya. Here. Brandy Alexander.
Here.
Daniel Trotter.
Here.
Gabby Flores.
Present.
April Jones.
Here.
Bess Bailey, and we all got an email that Bess wasn't going to be able to make it to this meeting. Yvonne Salinas.
Here.
Here. And Tara Adler.
Here.
Okay.
Okay. So we've taken roll. Sorry, I'm pulling up the agenda now. 1 second. So moving forward, we need to go over the minutes. So April, if you'll go over the minutes from the last meeting.
Sure will. So first we called attendance. Members present were myself, April Jones, Tara Adler, Brandy Alexander, Jess Loya, Yvonne Salinas, Gabby Flores, and Bess Bailey. City liaisons Lisa Toll and Eric Berlin were also in attendance. Daniel Trotter was introduced as a new member to the EIC. The meeting was open to public comments. No comments were received. Tara Adler proposed the possibility of inviting a member of Beaverton's Diversity Action Board to meet with the EIC virtually to discuss their group. The EIC flyer was reviewed and discussed. Possible additions were considered or advised, including the official NKC logo and a QR code that links to the nkc.org website. Brandy and Dan will work on the web page with Kim Nakahota. Members discussed and agreed that the option of making the People of NKC project an EIC initiative. This project may eventually include using videos at the beginning of each meeting, allowing people to submit their own videos, and enlisting NKCHS students to assist. Possible events such as a cultural festival and block parties were suggested for future EIC projects. EIC members discussed forming a strategic plan, obtaining data on community makeup, including but not limited to race, age, income, language, technology access, and more. Members volunteered to work on the following items for future meetings. I apologize if I got some of these wrong. There was a lot of talking over and I couldn't identify everybody's voices, but strategic planning, we've got April, Brandy, and Bess. For the DAB research, Tara and Gabby. Community outreach, I think was Dan, Yvonne, and Jess. And then the EIC webpage and the People of NKC project were Dan, Jess, and Brandy. Announcements, plan to vote on co-chairs and secretary at the April 2021 meeting. And the email address and the phone number for the committee were made available. The email address is eic@nkc.org, and the phone number is 816-412-7810, which will give citizens the chance to leave a message. And I am apparently missing the time that the meeting was adjourned. Why do I not have that on there? Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have that.
All right, we just need someone to approve or move to approve the minutes, right? I believe so.
Move to approve.
Second.
All righty, thank you very much.
Hi, this is Eric Berlin. First of all, you all might want to vote on it. Secondly, April, could you email those to me after this meeting so we could have them in writing for the record? Thanks.
So after you move to approve the minutes, would you like me to call roll, or would you like to do all in favor, say aye?
I think all in favor would be fine.
I agree. Aye.
So Brandy would say all in favor.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns about the notes? Okay, so moving forward, we have comments from the public, if there were any.
So again, Eric Berlin, Kim Nakahoto is the host of the meeting. Kim, is there anyone from the public who would like to speak to the committee tonight?
Evening, everyone. I'm not seeing anybody attending remotely at this time.
All right,
No comments.
okay. All right,
Lisa,
So-
did you have any voicemails or emails or anything?
I did not. But I do know that it's working
Perfect.
because Steven sent a test one through when he set it up.
so it's working, so,
It's working, yeah.
all right, perfect. So hopefully we get some comments, some joiners. We'd love to have conversations with anyone who's interested. So moving forward, we are at item number 5 on our agenda. We were supposed to talk about how can we support our minority citizens and business owners? Anyone want to take the floor on that or any thoughts towards that?
Well, I'm the one that asked to have that added. There was a really good article in the Kansas City Star that I had responded to. Some of the things that we've done in the past, like a cultural day where you get to try taste out foods and things like that. It doesn't seem like it's a good idea right now in a pandemic. So I was just wondering, what other things do you think that we could do to support our local minority business owners or business owners in general at this time? I was also thinking of how we could be better allies to our citizens. So it was just an open discussion for people to discuss what we could do. I looked up some websites for reporting if there were, if people felt discriminated. I just kind of wanted to have an open discussion given the events of the last week or two, to see if there's anything we could do as a committee to reach out and be better allies.
Well, now since we have an email address and we have phone numbers, we can maybe, I don't know, this might be too much. We only meet it once a month, but maybe we can have them call in or show up and be a guest. And maybe for the first 15 minutes, we dedicate that to minority citizens and business owners, maybe just to either introduce themselves or talk about their business, what they do, that type of thing, to give them some free press and the opportunity to really just talk about their business. Maybe even think about putting together, seeing if the business owners like to put together coupons, or can assist if we can't get together and have like a food truck event, or maybe that's something down the line. But some of our business owners have food trucks, they could park and we could park at Mackin. Just kind of throwing some stuff out there that we could kind of hold for our city.
So I know, one, creating a list of all of our minority-owned businesses would be probably a pretty good start, so we know which ones they are. And then I know previously it was discussed, I think with a different group of people, about some sort of program that our businesses might be interested in joining. It's sort of like a pay it forward program. Like if you went in and bought a drink up at Post, you could put down $10. Somebody could essentially come in, grab something and just get like a free meal, beverage, whatever. I know a lot of businesses have this, and I even saw some cities that had like token programs or things like that, which was kind of the same idea, but you could spend it basically at any like local business. But things like that would be cool. I know Bryant and maybe you, Lisa, I don't remember who introduced the resolution to, hold on, I have it. Ongoing conversations on matters of race, inclusion, and policing. This was on June 25th. And I know it was voted upon by all of the council members, and it kind of essentially was, I think, meant to open up conversations, if I am correct, but I don't know if you could clarify that, because I remember when it happened and I remember people voted on it. I just don't quite remember exactly what the purpose of it was.
Don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and watch that meeting. So I started in June. That may have been my first meeting. So
Okay.
I would have to go back. I have to go back and look at that, but I can do that. I wrote down the date.
Okay.
Jessica, I really like the idea of getting the list. I think that's a really good start. And I was wondering, just from coming from the website perspective, and this may be a question for Eric and Kim, but are we able to put like specific lists like that on our webpage once we designed it, just to make the public more aware of minority-owned businesses in the city? Like, can we use city-run media for that, I guess is what I'm asking.
I'd like, just want to be careful about not, I think we could do things like that, yes. We just want to, the danger that I could see is you identify some and then you miss others, and then they become upset about being omitted. So I just think you need to think about things like that. But we could certainly try to work with you on that kind of content for the EIC part of the page on the website.
Could we have minority-owned businesses submitted? So we host a list, but then maybe for the first 30 days or for 30 days or ongoing, they can just, minority-owned business owners can just go to the website, submit their information, and then it uploads to that directory that's already there.
Yes, we, for example, for the proclamation that we recently did for Women's History Month, we went to the state website and we found minority women-owned businesses that had registered on the state site, and then we identified that there were 5 of them in North Kansas City. There may be more, but those were the 5 that had identified themselves on the state site. So we could try to use sites like that to verify the ones that are officially registered as minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, etc.
We could also work with River North or the Business Council, or beyond businesses. I was just thinking of what we could do to celebrate our differences and come together as a community, which is tricky. But now that it's getting nicer, we can do things outside. I just thought that maybe we could. And Yvonne, I know that Amy has said before she'd really like to host something on your end of town. Like, just some way that we can incorporate all these things. I thought it might be worth discussing.
Yeah, well, honestly, this weekend we're planning a little neighborhood, just a couple of families hunt, Easter egg hunt Saturday morning, and just something little. But yes, we're trying to just do more, and I don't want to totally knock out this cultural event, whatever you talked about. Like, I think that we could still do that somehow safely. Maybe because I've been to one where they have little pre-made containers, with their food, and not everybody, does food. They do jewelry, clothing, shoes, whatever. I think that we shouldn't just throw that out just because of COVID. I think we should reconsider it and, bring in these local companies or whatever. I think that's just something we need because we need more people to know about, us, and about we just need to be more. I'm all about, getting together, getting the kids out, getting, you know what I mean? All of us,
Yeah.
like in our neighborhood, especially, we like just look out for each other, and, we need to get to know the ones all around and everybody else. And so, I don't know, it's just something we're working on. So, but yeah.
Okay.
So,
I just want to
anybody with kids Saturday morning, we're doing our own little here in the cul-de-sac, bring your kids, bring some eggs.
It sounds like fun.
I just wanted to maybe ask the group for consideration. It sounds like we started to talk about it a little bit. I think that, like, I'm just going to use the city of Kansas City as an example. So if there's, you know, they have diverse business categories that are defined. And I think it would be important for us to define what a diverse business is, because it's going to be beyond minority owned, women owned, LGBTQ owned, disabled vet owned, you know, there's typically going to be like a bundle or a category hub zone. There's like probably 8 or 10 different categories of diverse business. And so to Eric's point, like, I would hate to leave someone out. And typically for eligibility for programs and stuff, you have to certify, you have to get yourself approved. So sometimes the things that you'll find, like the 5 on the list of the state of Missouri, there's probably way more, but they're not certified. Those are usually the ones that make it to those lists. So, you know, we might not need we might go for something more organic, but more inclusive, if that makes sense, so that someone who's not certified could still be eligible to be on the list.
Got it.
Like that suggestion.
As far as events, we could try to do another like fall festival type thing that we did. It was just kind of thrown together. We partnered with a local business, but bringing people out, we did some socially distanced game stations, things like that. But it was nice to just bring some of the community members out, get to know some of the neighbors, things like people that I guess didn't always, like, we live next to each other. There's some people who came out that I've literally never had a conversation with, and it was really nice. It was family friendly. We could do something like that. Or we could just create a whole new sort of event. We could figure out like an us event where we're getting our name out there, where we're trying to bring together. I know there's been a lot of talk about trying to reach out to like apartment complexes to bring them more into the fold of community, to make them feel more like a part of the community, I guess. And then also Ward 4, like, you guys are all out there and I feel like we never see you guys. Like, I think we need some more events that bring everybody. But yeah, anything, like we could make our own event. We could try to do another like People of North Kansas City event. And you could also get, we actually have a list, which I should get to you, of people who are available and ready to do interviews. But we could get more of those. Just an idea. It was a really fun event.
Yeah, I think having an event where we get people together, just so people know about us, maybe sooner rather than later, over the summer, when you don't have to worry about the weather as much, because we definitely need it to be outside. So we can wait and see if the restrictions on numbers let up. We should know in April, but tentatively kind of plan for something, maybe.
So I know Snow and Roast is planning to be back sometime soon as the weather gets warmer again. And sort of unofficially and then officially for the event, but kind of partnered with them to just hang out up there, catch people as they were coming, like at the park. So it's it's a pretty family oriented place. I know there's a lot of regulars there, people who just ride their bikes up to the park. But they were really great to partner with last time.
I like the idea of doing a meet and greet type of situation too, introducing the committee and us to the city as a first step, and then soliciting feedback for what they would potentially want in the future, because we're trying to talk about doing something for the community without community input, which is hard when we're not getting any input from the community right now. But how do we start that discussion and see what people want to do?
And I was just looking in the NKC community newsletter that goes out. It looks like there's an ad in there for the Friday night concerts, and the earliest one I see on there is sometime around May 14th. So I didn't know if that was, a date or, something that's here in the near future that we can shoot for as being like a time where we could invite people to a little event, if that makes sense. Like that seemed to be
Or,
acceptable.
If you're trying to get families, maybe do it before one of the movies in the park.
Yeah,
good
that'd be
time
really,
for it.
really smart for sure, to kind of be the
Okay.
opening act, if you will, for one
Yeah.
of those things. Yeah, that'd be really good.
Could we reach out to the Parks Department and kind of get something set up where we can introduce ourselves at one of the upcoming events? I know we have, I think, music in the park and some other things are coming back. I saw something for art in the park this morning. Could we potentially reach out to the Parks Department?
Sure. If you are, yeah, I mean, you might, I think, I don't want to speak for Parks and Rec, but I can't imagine that they would have any objection to this committee having a presence, a table, something like that, prior to one of their events like Movie in the Park, or for that matter, Arts in the Park, which is in June, to raise awareness of the fact that this committee is here and is looking for input. So I'd be happy to let them know and that you might be interested in participating in one of those events. And if you have any particular event that you'd be interested in like, the first Movie in the Park or something, let me know and I can try to coordinate that with Parks and Rec.
I think that's a good idea.
So we could hand out flyers potentially and just kind of maybe before the movie starts, even be kind of available and talking to people about the committee, it sounds like then. And soliciting feedback.
Again, I'm speaking for Parks and Rec, but
Yeah.
I state confidently that they'd have no objection to something like that.
I think that'd be an easy way to start and start talking to people in the community without having to put on a whole new event and start just kind of getting ourselves out there and talking to people about what we're doing and that we're looking for feedback and input.
Yeah.
So Lisa, would you like maybe Victoria Wrestler, who's the Parks and Recreation Director, to make a contact with you and have a conversation about that?
I can email her. I'll email her and talk to her about the dates and maybe we could strategically pick they sometimes have like an older kids movie and then the next one is a younger kids movie and we could do both and you'll be getting, all different kinds of families.
I will let her know to expect your call or email.
Yep, I will do that. Okay.
I think Gabby has her hand raised. It's kind of blending into her sunset though. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Sorry. It was before. It was about kind of that business diversity question. But I do remember a couple of years ago, maybe 5 years ago, they did a food truck event in the parking lot of Mackin, and it was really successful. I just kind of think that there's probably opportunity even just to do some leafletting. I know that that's kind of old school, but I think about, Ramadan is coming up next month, and our park is a central spot for breaking fast for our Muslim community members. And so even just getting, and sometimes we'll have meals together. I know that they've kind of shut some of those shelters down, but people will still come and pray on the grass. So that might be another place where we can just spread the word. So maybe we could come up with like a list of 10 or 12 of these different places, and we could divvy it up and each take a shift or something.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So are we ready for the video meeting, Randy?
Yeah, are there any other suggestions about the ways we can support our minority citizens and business owners? All right, we'll move forward to the People of NKC video.
Okay, I have that to share. I knew Stephen wasn't here, so I didn't email it to him, and I'm hoping I can share from my iPad. But before I do, I was just gonna say to Eric, I know we would have to make a formal request at the city council meeting, but I would like to request $240 just to do $20 gift cards for one a month. That would take care of a year to whoever's being interviewed, to give them a gift card to one of the businesses in the community as a thank you. And then I was hoping, after I did a few months and we kind of got all the kinks worked out, that we could on our website put some general questions, and people might want to start interviewing other people they know from the city and send that in to be aired during the meeting. So
Lisa, would you mind sending me an email along those lines?
Yep.
We're getting a little late for the April 7th agenda, but I can certainly put that on the April 20th agenda. But I just want to make sure I get your request exactly right. So if you'd send that to me, we'll put it on the council agenda.
Okay, no rush. I was just doing the first ones myself anyway, so I'll email you that.
Great.
Email Eric. And then the only other thing I would say is, if we want to make this a regular thing, maybe we do it the first thing or the last thing, so it's always in the same spot on the agenda. Let's see if I can share it.
While you're figuring that out, are we going to post it somewhere else, like a thread of them, so people can go and find them later?
Yes, that was the goal, but Steven's gone, so I haven't started that at all, but he had said previously. Okay, let me know if it's actually sharing anything. Give me a second.
Make sure you enable the audio too.
I have it so that all panelists can share screen. Let me know if you aren't able to do that though.
Well, I click share screen, Zoom. Oh, here. Is it sharing, guys?
It is.
Oh, yay. Okay. And now you can see the video?
Mhm. Yes.
I haven't played it, but you see the screen that says people of North Kansas City?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so it'll look better if I get it after I talk to Steven about how to give it to him. To get it from my computer to the iPad, I had to make it not as high definition as it should have been.
Hi, thank you for being our first interview for the Equity and Inclusion Committee. Can you start off by telling us your name?
My name is Shauna.
Hold on, I don't know why it's so
How would
quiet.
you
Let me try again.
describe yourself?
Number one, Christian. Number two, a mother. Number three, a minority and Indian.
Guys, you can't hear it, can you?
I can hear it. The audio's a little off with the video, but I can hear.
It's just
Okay,
not
because
very loud.
Yeah, I have it turned up all the way and I can hardly hear it on this end. So I might just have to wait for Steven. See if.
For specifically a mother to a Black and Indian
We can hear it.
child.
Okay.
How long have you lived in North Kansas City?
I've lived here for about 6 years.
And what drew you to North Kansas City?
I was just looking for a good area to raise my son in and to find a good school. I grew up in Raytown, and I just wanted something that was kind of close to the city, but not, really, in the city. And so this was perfect for us.
What are some of your favorite things about life in North Kansas City?
Well, I kind of mentioned it before, but my favorite thing is the location. I love being close to downtown and just kind of in the perfect area in Kansas City where you're like 15 minutes basically from anywhere, Overland Park or Raytown. And so, yeah, I just really, really love the area.
What would you like to see more of in North Kansas City?
I would say basketball courts. My son is obsessed, and it's just hard. Sometimes on the weekends we have to go and search to find one. I would say for sure a Asian food market. I usually have to travel to Overland Park to the grocery store to be able to get any type of spices. So I would say those two things are my top.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
That was nice.
you guys,
Yeah, it's great.
okay, I couldn't hear it on this side, so I hope you guys heard it. I'm so sorry.
Hear it.
The captioning helped.
Yeah, captioning did help.
Okay, well, I'll get with Steven. It'll be better next time, and I'll get this one to him. And we were talking about putting just a link where you, hopefully we'll just collect all of them on our webpage, so people can just. And it would be a good time if you think, if you liked the format, if there were questions you wish had been asked or some that weren't as important, or if you'd like to change the screen that says people of North Kansas City, any of those things before I work on the next month's video. And of course, you can always just email me.
How are you finding these people?
Well, I knew her, so that, so I said, will you do this for me? And she said, yes.
Okay.
So her,
So,
my son are in the same class.
okay. So is that something like people can sign up for, or do you just gonna?
That's my goal. I already have a list of people from when they were running it in the park. So I can get that list. And then my goal would be that hopefully this is something that catches on, that's pretty cool, that helps us get to know our North Kansas City neighbors. And then eventually people can interview someone they know in the community and send it in. And we could post their interviews as well.
So I
We
still,
do.
oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Could we do business owners as well, potentially?
I think you could do anybody.
I don't know how to share it because I don't have it saved. I don't know if Joe sent you the business highlight from Snow and Roast. So there were a few things that I think we should try to keep. So I know we have like a printed sign. Like I think even though that's probably not going to be the primary way that we're getting interviews anymore, I still think like kind of a long-term goal of the project was that eventually we could have maybe like an event in which we got people to interview each other. Just kind of like one of those like very old school like dating events where people like get up and move around. I don't remember what those were called, but I know that was like a thing back in the day. But something like that, where like if people came, they could sit down and do like really short interviews with people in the community, kind of get to know them, and we would find some way to like get all of that on video. I know we still have a little sign that says people of North Kansas City, which we use to set up at Mackin, but we could also set it up if we were doing some sort of other event as like a sign up station. And I know we kind of did that when we did the fall festival. We had a little table where people could come up, learn about the project. If they came up, I think we did free snow cones and hot chocolate from Snow and Roast, but all they had to do was like come up, talk to us, take a flyer. And then if they wanted to sign up for like a future interview, they could. But we still have that list. So there's a couple of people on there that I'm sure are willing to be interviewed. And then prior interviews, there was like 6 or 7 of them. And I'm sure those people would be more than happy to re-interview in like a video format.
Yvonne, did you have your hand up earlier?
No, I'm just agreeing.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that you had a list. I don't have the list, but if you send it to me, I could go from that. And we can go from there. So I think you were talking about speed dating, Jessica, talking about? Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Like they would have like events and people would come and like sit down. You have like, yeah, that, sure.
Speed networking. Speed networking. We don't want to imply that anybody's going to get match made.
No matchmaking. Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun when we're,
more free.
Not afraid of everybody else's germs sitting close to us. It's harder when you can only see this much of somebody when you're meeting somebody new, but I mean, I guess those are the times.
Does anyone else have people they've met during the pandemic and they feel like they still haven't like seen this portion of their face? Because I have a couple of acquaintances. We definitely saw the guy at the coffee shop taking trash out the other day. I was not expecting like a beard situation. It was just very confusing, like a mustache. This pandemic has been interesting.
I agree. Any more feedback on the people of NKC video? Any more comments, suggestions, or anything for the video? All right. Okay. So then we'll move on to the website discussion and feedback. Dan, you want to take this on? You got it?
Sure. So Brandy and I met a few times this past month just to talk about the website, and just in my professional role, I get to work with developers quite a bit, and there's a program that came to mind. It's called Balsamic. It's a really cool, just kind of website mock-up tool. So I'm just going to share what I put together, and Brandy can tell you too. This is just kind of to mimic, I think, what the NKC website looks like right now. And Eric and Kim, at any time, if you want to chime in just about like how much freedom we'll have with the web page, that would be helpful. But I was trying to follow the template we had just because it looked like almost every page on the site kind of followed a certain template. So I think I'm sharing now. Tell me if I'm not. Let's see here. Okay. Here we go.
Here we go.
All right, so this is just pretty much what we came up with so far. Just more or less a landing page for our committee. And it felt like naturally, just on the way the website's laid out right now, we would kind of be under the government boards and commissions kind of breadcrumb trail, if you will. And I just literally dropped in what I felt looked like the template of the website. I'm going to try to scroll slowly. But I think the page would just have our name at the top, just based on the template I saw. And then I put our mission statement kind of front and center. I felt like that was a good introduction to what we have going on. And then hopefully we can do some more just with that page with a photo of us. Links to all of the important information about our committee and our initiatives, of course. And just some of these bullet points highlight just what we're working on right now. And I tried to add some stuff here just about the people of NKC, if we want to have, like you said, the questions on here, Lisa, or an upload button for videos. We were also talking about, some sort of inbox where people can communicate to us just really quickly through the page. But overall, I was just hoping to get feedback from Eric and Kim if, this is kind of the idea that we're going for, or if we do have more freedom with the page.
I'll speak first, and then if Kim has any comments. The content looks just fine to me. I mean, I think that's right on target. We hope you understand the need, just in part because of the clunkiness of our website, it's for us to actually create the content based upon what you give us. And that would be what Kim would do. So, but I mean, this is the kind of thing, sure, we can create this page, put it up. You get us the content and we can handle the formatting. Kim, did you have any additional thoughts or comments?
No, that's exactly it, at least for the next 10 months to a year, because we'll be getting a new website, but we'll be flowing in the same content, if that makes sense. So some of the reformatting, it may look and feel a little bit visually different. The nice thing is it'll be mobile friendly and fully ADA compliant on our new website. But we would use the same content provided.
Cool. And I think, that's where we kind of come in at this point. So
I have a question. One of the links is to NKC Neighbors. Can you tell me what exactly it links to?
Oh, are you talking about on the page right now?
Yeah, I mean, I know they're not actually linked, but just the bullet that says NKC Neighbors Group.
I think that was just one of the ideas that Brandy and I had talked about. I don't know specifically if there was a page in mind for that, but I think Brandy may have had something in mind.
So Jess had mentioned that the NKC Neighbors group on
Maybe.
Facebook was kind of like
Yeah.
the precursor to this. If I'm correct, Jess, correct me if I'm wrong.
So-
But it'd be nice to have that link on our page so people who are coming in, or they can click on a link from our website and go straight to the Facebook group. And that's usually where you get it. For me, when I first moved here, that's where I found out a lot of different information about what was going on in our city, different things going on other than just getting that letter. And it help me to meet people, so to speak. And just
The only thing I would be concerned about in doing that is that this is on the city's webpage and we're part of the city. And sometimes some of the conversation and content gets a little heated. And I'm just not sure that it would be the best thing for the city to have a Facebook group that we don't control linked to our page.
Okay, I see.
I also think that goes both ways in the sense that I'm fairly certain, of course, you would have to talk to the admins of that group, but they don't want it to be a city affiliated page. And I think it's been made clear on a couple occasions, like if you guys have an issue, like this is a place you can discuss it, but there are like formal avenues of communication with the city. They don't see anything that happens here, or there's no guarantee that people would see it, versus potentially starting our own Equity and Inclusion Committee Facebook page. I did see some other cities had things like that when it came to their websites and whatnot. There wasn't a lot of, so I went to the two that I found and there wasn't like a lot of interaction. I don't know how old they are. They seem to go back to like the beginning of last year. So fairly new, but like 4 likes per post, maybe like 1 comment. So maybe figuring out how to do that and like actually like engage people and get them interested would be awesome. But it's kind of hard. Like navigating social media is difficult as is.
I like that idea though. If we wanted to have a social media presence, it would be better to do an Equity and Inclusion Facebook page, and our events could be posted on other sites.
Can I discuss some of the things I saw on other diversity pages? I just tried to put them all together in a thing. So like the landing pages all seemed to be about the same. It was, their purpose, meeting times, special meeting info, group contact info, agendas, past and present, and then vacancies were pretty clearly like there was some way that people knew there was a vacancy in this committee. And I believe the city intends to do something along those lines with the new website, but I could be wrong. And then I did see like the DEI resources, so like community resources and regional resources, and that was like cultural and ethnic diversity, physical and developmental disabilities, civil and human rights information, LGBTQ plus info, age-related questions, and then directories for public institutions or public like assistance. There were most of them had something along the lines of like a racial equity toolkit, and then calendars of observances of like all religious. So I know Gabby brought up Ramadan. I know the Baha'i faith just had Ayami Ha, and there's also like a fasting period there. But just having some sort of tool to learn about other cultures and other practices, I think would be really cool. I know a lot of people don't know what either of these things are, any of these things are. I think it would be really cool to have something where they could like click a link and have a short little description of that holiday or that observance. And then, I also noticed that a lot of these committees connected really heavily with the arts. So like arts programs in their communities and arts grants and things like that. And I know that was both like music and, like visual art. But also I just wrote down these websites so I can pass them along to you guys and you guys can look over them. I just thought they were really good. Like there were a bunch, but comparatively, like these ones had like spot on information, a lot of good ideas, and then a ton of other things other than what I listed. I just thought those ones were kind of cool and important.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good point. that you bring up just about like making the page educational, because obviously that's a really important goal of what we're doing. But I didn't know how, going back to linking to other sites or other information on the city website, what that would entail.
And I have a question too. When it comes to email, say we have, since we're trying to be, equitable and inclusive, can we have an inbox where someone doesn't have an email, even though we have free stuff, but can we have an inbox on the website that's gonna shoot an email to us when we get an inbox to our equity inclusion email? Is that possible? That they could just submit an email straight from the site without trying to go to an email that they may not have.
That may be a question for Stephen, but I'm pretty sure that putting in like a box or like a messaging box is not super difficult. And I don't know, or I don't think that it would go directly to our group email, but it would go to like a dedicated space where we would be able to look at it. But again, that's a Stephen thing. I don't know anything about that. It's just like a basic understanding.
I'm sure we can figure that out.
Okay. Any more questions, comments, or discussion regarding the website? Anything you all were thinking of to add, or? Okay. Gabby, were you saying something?
Sorry, I couldn't find my mute button, sorry. The other thing that after kind of scouring the Beaverton website quite a bit, looking for reports and stuff, so I don't know if there was a bullet, but eventually when we get our plan together and when we, maybe we have some data, city data links and some other things like that, that would help inform the community about our process. Maybe there's like a corner of the site where it's, how our journey or our process kind of thing.
Yeah. Any other feedback? Okay. It looks like we are on the announcement section. Are there any announcements?
I can follow up on, I reached out to Beaverton's contact and did not hear back about getting a meeting together, but I did reach out to Independence, their city clerk. They have a human relations committee, and she was kind to agree to do a meeting. And so I have a meeting as basically a Zoom meeting if 2 people want to join me Monday at 11:30 to just talk with them about, I really just was asking questions about how they got started, questions around their strategic planning, how they address issues that come up. So if I can attach a couple of people to that invite that are interested. And so it's this Monday, the 5th at 11:30.
At 11:30?
Uh-huh.
If we're unable to attend, could we send you some questions that maybe?
Yes, or send me questions. Yep.
It might be too much to ask, but maybe you could even record it and we could view it without discussing it. Like you could just push it to us, and as long as we don't discuss it, like I'm not saying air it during one of our broadcast meetings, but just push it to us and we promise not to email back with any comments, then we can kind of discuss at the next
As long as
meeting.
it's, I only have a personal Zoom, like a free one. So I don't know if can I record on those?
I do not know. It's okay if you can't. I was just thinking
Yeah.
it would be better for you.
I'm not sure about the, the recording. I don't know. But if you guys have questions and you want to email them to me, I'm happy to take good notes and pass that information along in our next meeting.
Monday.
You
said Monday at 5:30?
Sorry, Monday the 5th, 11:30.
Okay.
And just email me. You guys can check your schedules later and let me know, and I can add you.
Any other announcements?
This is Eric. Can I mention a couple of things? One, whoever, maybe this is Brandy, but I'm not sure, but I want to make sure that we have the adopted set of bylaws on file. And so could whoever because Brandy, you were sort of doing the editing, I think, the last night, but whoever has the final version of the bylaws, I just want to make sure that we have those on file here at the city. So could whoever might have those, send those to me.
Maybe Bess.
Yeah.
It's in our
Beth.
people somewhere.
All right,
So
well,
one of us can find it.
Well, I will contact Beth then and ask her if she can send this to me. Thanks. Just another thing for you all to think about. I think on April 20th, I'm just going to ask the newly installed governing body, mayor and city council, if they have any desire or thoughts about beginning to meet in person. Just because there will have a bunch of new members on the council, and I don't know what their thoughts might be. At some point, hopefully in the coming months, at least, we will, be thinking about beginning to move away from virtual meetings and back to in-person meetings the way we used to before all of this began. So just something for you all to think about is if you would like to begin meeting live. The one point I would make about meeting Thursdays at 7 o'clock is that our planning commission meets Thursdays at 6 o'clock. So there is a little bit of a conflict there. We'd either have to find another location for you to meet, could be our community room at City Hall, or you could think about another night or something. But our planning commission, when they meet, and they don't meet every month, but they meet Thursdays at 6 o'clock. On the first Thursday at 6 o'clock of the month. So I'd just like you all to begin thinking about that and what your thoughts are about when you're comfortable doing that and how you might go about that.
Eric, if I was just wondering if there's any plans to potentially keep some sort of virtual option. Not necessarily, but let's say like one of us is sick or something. I just think with the past year and learning how many things we can do virtually, potentially having the option for somebody to still participate virtually would be cool, just for your consideration going forth.
Yeah,
we've learned a lot this year, and one of those things is potentially that virtual meetings kind of work sometimes.
Right. I'm not the best person to ask about technical things along those lines. Even before COVID, it was legal to have somebody call into a meeting telephonically. How that would work as far as, doing it on Zoom, that may be quite possible. I'm just not the right person to ask, but that may be a possibility. Yes, I certainly understand your point, and it is legal for people to do that. I think you can't have a quorum of a body that's doing it virtually if you're meeting live, but you can have a minority of your body doing that. So sure, we'll look further into that.
Okay.
And then the last thing I would just mention is that at our last council meeting, Councilmember Clevenger mentioned we did a proclamation. So a resident suggested to us that we do a proclamation in honor of Women's History Month, and in particular note women-owned businesses in North Kansas City. So we did craft a resolution or a proclamation, and it was suggested we might do more of those. And it was suggested that this committee might make suggestions for proclamations along those lines. So if you all have any ideas about proclamations, each, it seems like each month there are numerous causes and groups, etc., that are being honored in each month. And if you all have any ideas about particular proclamations that you'd like to see the city put on its agenda, please let us know, and we can, and in all honesty, we'll probably go online and find somebody else who's done it and, copy them to a large degree, but we'd be happy to do that. So that was something that was mentioned at a council meeting, and for your consideration, if you have any ideas for us, just shoot me an email. That's all I have. Thanks.
So can I, one last time we discussed voting, I don't think we put that on the agenda for this meeting. So maybe we want to put that on the agenda for next meeting. Two, I brought up earlier that I believe Bryant DeLong made a resolution and brought it before council, essentially to denounce violence after the George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery incidents. I think right now would probably be a really good time to circle back to that and kind of see where we are. I know we are dealing with some anti-Asian hate and violence in our country right now, maybe making some sort of statement on that, or just seeing what we can do there would be nice, especially in light of that statement. I did find it, for the record. And it was essentially just asking the city to be aware of these issues, resolution in support of ongoing conversation between the community and the city on matters of race, inclusion, and policing. And then it kind of just went on to, I can send it to everybody. It's pretty long, but I can send it to everybody. But again, it was just opening the door for those conversations. And I just think right now is probably a good time to be having those conversations. So I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up, especially since we are a equity and inclusion committee, and that happens to be going on right now in our country.
That's exactly what I was talking about before when I was thinking we could come up with something. I'm thinking once we get this website up and running, it's a place where we could link, like yesterday was Transgender Visibility Day, and there's a really good website that has tips on how you could be a better ally, and that's something we could link page. There's also a Stop AAPI Hate website, so you can report anywhere in the United States. They're trying to keep a database so they know collectively anybody that's been the victim of a hate crime. We could do stuff like link. I mean, all of these things I think would need to be approved by the city. But I see it once we get our website up and running, this could be where you go to look at, you know, how do I use proper pronouns, or what do I do if this? I think it could be a really useful site, but we got to get it up and running and then see how easy it is to add things as needed.
And to develop some kind of a quality process where it's reviewed regularly, because those things change so often that I'm sure the city has some kind of a process in place to review any kind of external content links and make sure they're still intact.
As far as that conversation, I know, so that's what you were trying to get at in the beginning, which now makes a lot more sense. So what could we do? What do you think? Do you guys have any suggestions of things we could do as a group, or, you know, pushing it to the community to make sure that people in our community are heard, especially if they are dealing with any of these types of issues? Basically just to let them know that, like, we stand with them, we have their backs, we support them, and we're here if they need us in any way. Is there anything that we can do specifically? Any suggestions?
Well, I was thinking starting off by letting people know that we exist. So going to those events that we had talked about. But Tara, this might be a good question when you have your meeting on Monday to see, because they've been up and running for a while, to see how they make changes in their outreach as things come up. But baby, I would say my answer to hate is mostly community and love. So the more we could get people together and humanize people, you know, get together in a positive way. It's just too cute. I can't stand it. I think that would be helpful. Like, I think we kind of have to get going so people know about us, but and get to know people. But the more we can bring everyone together in a positive way, I think is helpful.
Well, and I also think that if we also can't just let a once and done be done. So, you know, we had a police forum last year. Beaverton had 7. So, you know, it's those kinds of things that if we want to put it on the agenda, we're going to have to do some outreach and make the invitation and say, hey, could you come to our next meeting and present about, you know, how new officers are onboarded and trained when it comes to racial equity, or I'm just making up stuff. But like, I think some of that we're going to have to, you know, reach out, and it's going to have to be real deliberate and explicit inquiries in addition to events and countermeasures of love and community. I totally agree with that. But I think sometimes we're like, okay, well, we had a police forum and so we're done now. And that it didn't reach everybody. It was rescheduled because of weather. And so if we knew it was predictable every quarter there was going to be a police forum, that would increase trust and accountability and that mutual respect that doesn't just happen with one forum. So I think it's going to be something that will surface from, you know, in our strategic planning process. And I do think, I'm just going to say this out loud, that we may have to approach the city for some funding to get some help to go through this process, because I'm not sure. I worry that we're going to just circle the drain for a while until we get some kind of expert person, you know, and there's a couple of experts in the community that can help walk us through this, and it won't be very much money. So those are some of the things that we may need to start thinking about and asking for. And maybe the timing, right? New mayor's election and all of that, maybe we wait a couple of months, but I do think that we may not be able to do it successfully by ourselves. We may need to get some help.
I 100% agree with that. That's kind of what I meant about circling back to it. I feel like we sort of got a little complacent with things, and I think it's important to be cognizant of the fact that these issues don't go away. They don't just disappear, and we have to make progress on them. And the only way to do that is to continually put forth more efforts. I completely agree about the police and fire, or the police forum. But also, could we potentially like invite we have a community policing, like we have a couple of officers that are specifically like community outreach, right? Would it be a potential to invite them on, talk to them, ask them some questions about some things? I know we are still like CIT training officers. We haven't fully CIT trained all of our officers. I know that's like a big deal. I'd love to learn more about that, what it takes to get us to that point. And then just in general, like the Facebook page that we brought up earlier, it's really great for information, like things going on in the community. And I know that was brought up recently, like how do you handle, and I read through the entire thing and I refrained from commenting on it, but I definitely had so many thoughts. And it was somebody who had posted that one of their neighbors is mentally unwell, and that the behaviors have maybe been increasing, but that this person had been, you know, outside hitting a tree, just like clearly sort of erratic behaviors, and how to address that best. And there were so many different schools of thought on that, like, oh, you call the police, and at least then they can kind of establish, you know, how many times people have been called and maybe kind of like force some help. And then one woman suggested something along the lines of like every state has these mobile operators who essentially can be like an outreach for these people, and that maybe we need to figure out those avenues and like who to call in those situations. But I also think discussing with our police department, especially with everything we see nationally, and just knowing that there's individuals in our community who suffer from mental health issues, like what do they do? Like, I would love to ask them questions about this. Like, how do they approach these situations? What are they trained to do? And then, you know, just kind of have somebody on and talk to them about that. But like I said, just keeping this conversation going, figuring out how we can kind of include the community in it would be nice. But maybe would it be too soon to reach out to the police department? I know they came to the fall festival event. They were really great about that, coming out and trying to just kind of be a presence there when we talked about community policing, that we kind of want to know our officers' names. When I see an officer, I want to be like, hey, officer so-and-so, like we would love to have them at community events that are not specifically associated with policing or being there as that in that capacity. But would it be too soon to maybe try to get somebody from the PD to talk to us like next meeting?
No, we can certainly do that. Whether I would want to consult the police chief as to who would represent the department, but certainly we can have the police department come to your next meeting to have a dialogue.
Okay. We
So
could also get the community involved for
I'll
questions.
just plan on that yeah, I'll go ahead and make that invitation, and we'll have somebody, at least somebody from the department there to begin that conversation.
Perfect.
All right. Any more thoughts or feedback to what was just discussed by Jess, or any more announcements that we need to go?
I have a question. There is a group that's working kind of on strategic planning, right? Because I feel like a lot of these conversations are they're popping up, but it feels like it's just whack-a-mole a little bit still, and it's hard. Because to Jess's point, like these are ongoing issues, and we could try to tackle everything for every meeting all the time, but how do we streamline it a little bit more so that we're being thoughtful and we can put the time into doing things well, and talking about them and having meaningful conversation, and kind of like what do we do next with the kind of planning and figuring out what to tackle first.
I believe there was a group created. I know I asked to be on a strategic planning group, but I couldn't remember who else was on it. And I went back to the notes, and then we didn't have that in the notes.
There was a lot of back and forth discussion and switching and things. It was kind of complicated.
So can we kind of re-go over that and figure out who's on that committee so we can?
It was, from what I remember and from the notes that I took during the meeting, it was going to be you, Brandy, myself, and Bess that were going to work on strategic planning.
Okay, so maybe we can discuss a time when we can meet, and then go over that.
We'll find out when Bess is going to be back and everything, and the three of us can get together. I'll send an email to both of you and get that set up, get that rolling.
Okay.
So you guys, or you two, and then Bess, who's not here, council member Saper, before this committee started, sent me Tina Weaver's resume, who had apparently already talked with him about being kind of involved and helping, like not as an official member. I don't think she lives here, but that she actually had quite a bit of background here, and that she would be a really good person to reach out to as we are moving forward with things like the strategic plan, to get some input on. So I don't know if now would be a good time to potentially reach out to Tina. I can also forward her resume to all of you because he sent it to me for some reason. But it was it's very eye-opening. She knows a lot about what we're doing. So it might be nice to talk to her. And then I know Gabby brought up, I will say another thing I saw on a lot of those websites for these types of committees and boards is outside help, consultants who help with data mining and things like that. So I just wanted to kind of second what Gabby said about potentially needing help and being able to afford that help, and having a consultant of some kind. And there are consultants who do specifically this. So, and I don't know at which point we bring them in, things like that. So maybe Tina could help us with stuff like that. But I just think now might be a good time to touch base with her and see what she could offer us.
I know she's still interested. So she's right now she's out, but she'll be back next week, so I can ask her.
Okay.
If she's still interested in kind of, as the strategic planning committee, as we meet, we can figure out how to incorporate her into that role.
She can like group up with them without it being an issue, right? She was going to help with those three on that. That's not at all an issue because she's not a committee member.
That's correct.
Cool.
And I'll email out if no one else is able to attend, I'll email out my notes to everyone. So it's out there for everyone to see, from independents, from their Human Relations Committee.
Okay. I'll check and see what I'm doing on the 5th. I would love to be there. I feel like I have something else to do at that time, but I will check.
I was just going to say, I completely agree with Tara saying we're kind of whack-a-mole and need to focus on something. So and with Gabby, that if the police forum happens once, we probably need it at least quarterly. But I see that as something, as if it's a part of our strategic plan, then somebody here can be in charge of making sure it happens and setting it up. And if we're having someone join us from the police department next month, it would be good to submit some questions or what we want them to talk about before that meeting. And I can send those to Chief Freeman or to Eric, whoever Eric wants me to send them to, if you guys had that. If we're still virtual, then it's not going to be like it was last time, obviously, because we were in the park and people from all over came and attended and were able to ask questions. So just to kind of think through what the purpose is, what questions we may have, so that they're prepared before the next meeting. And then website and strategic plan sounds like what we need to pull together to see how we're going to go forward.
And I would say, as the staff liaison, if you could forward these things to me, and then I will funnel them on to the appropriate party.
Okay, I'll do that.
And this is maybe a dumb question that I may have asked before, and I apologize. Does the city have a strategic plan on its website?
We do.
Okay.
You can find that it's you can take a look at that. So the process that for the last, it used to be that every 2 years the city council would have a retreat. It would be about a day and a half, and it would set goals for the next 2 or 3 years. The last retreat should have been last June. Of course, that was COVID. It's so it's very overdue at this point. But we do actually report on the status of the various goals and objectives that the council set 3 years ago, and where we stand on those. And you can find those on our website for whatever that might tell you. So, but when COVID, when we're past this, the council really needs, I think, to get together again and set some new goals for the city for the next several years.
And does that have any, so that retreat goal setting process for the city is only informed by city council and staff? It doesn't include community members, correct?
That has been the process in the past. It included the city council and the management team. It is an open meeting, just like any city meeting, but it has not involved community input in the past.
So maybe that's a really good starting point for us, guys, is just to plant that seed at the city council level as they are thinking about summer, fall, retreating for strategic planning. How do we get in on that as community members and integrate DEI into the strategic plan in addition to having our own strategy plan? I think, we have a city council member with us who could help carry that torch for us. Or, if it's a matter of one of us presenting to city council to ask for community engagement in that process, I think that would be a really great symbol to the community that they want to hear our input, and it especially around DEI.
Sorry, I was taking notes. Eric, can you tell me how to find it on the website?
Sure, we'll send you all a link here after the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other discussion or feedback regarding any other announcements or anything else that we've discussed thus far?
So it's just one tiny remark, which is I was a slacker and had no idea there was an NKC neighbors group, nor had I joined the City of NKC Facebook page. So I just discovered that Eric Berlin is intending to retire soon in the near future. So I just want to say thanks from our group for your support during this last 6 months, pre-starting and process. And I just wonder is there a kind of a interim succession plan? I know that that it's hard to predict, but do you think there will be somebody identified to work with us?
Oh, I'm sure there will be. So I think the next conversation to be had is with, again, the new city council that'll be installed on April 20th. And then that council would need to decide how to proceed in terms of appointing a successor. But certainly there will be a staff liaison to this committee, both after my tenure, during any interim period, and then under whoever is chosen as a permanent successor. There will always be somebody from the staff that'll be working with this committee to, help implement the things that you all indicate that you are looking to get done.
Congratulations. Is there a celebration? That's the other part. Are we celebrating?
Food trucks at the park.
I will be celebrating, yes.
As you should. Thank you.
As you
for
should.
time in our community.
Our next meeting would be a May meeting. And so thinking forward to what you guys were discussing about getting outside help that may cost money, that would have to be a formal ask at a city council meeting. So pulling together exactly what you were thinking, who you were thinking of, what it would cost, if it's by the hour, how many hours do we estimate? We would have to put together a formal ask and then get that added to the agenda. So if we want to get that added to, May or somewhere in there, we'll just have to know what to ask for ahead of time.
Does anyone want to do some research on that? I know there is some consulting firms, so to say, who specialize in this, but we could maybe put together some ideas of what we need and what we want. So what we're going to be looking for, maybe our best option would actually be to get with Tina first, kind of get her input on what exactly direction that we're going in and what we might need. And then once we have that input and know exactly what we're looking for and exactly what we're going to need help with, because I personally could not say right now what they could potentially help us with. I don't know if anybody else could. I do know, as Gabby said, they will be necessary for us to gather the data that we need going forward. But I think meeting with somebody who knows a little more about that would be pretty great for all of us.
This is a question for Eric. Are there policies in place at the city level that we would have to put this up for RFP?
That would be our usual procedure if you were hiring a consultant, is that you would do it for something like this. It might even be more of a request for qualifications, where you don't pick somebody based upon the price they offer, but if you pick them based upon how well qualified they are to do the work. So yes, but the other, to the point that you've been discussing, you would really need to have a well-defined scope for a consultant. So I think I would dare say that's a discussion for you to have at a future meeting as to what the scope of such a consultant's work would be. And then once you've got a fairly well-defined scope, then we could put out some kind of a request for qualifications. And then under our usual process, you would interview consultants who are interested in serving in that capacity. And after you've determined who you deem to be best qualified, then you would talk to them about what their fees would be. So I think it's a multi-month process for you to go through if you were to follow the usual city process for that kind of thing.
Do we have to get approval to even move forward down that road? So flipping it, it sounded like Lisa was maybe recommending that we go with a money ask, but we really need to go with an ask of city council. Is it okay for us to pursue this path of request for qualifications? Once we get our scope together.
I think it would not be a bad idea actually to come up with a budget ahead of time. And you might even then in your request for qualifications indicate what your budget is. And that would then tell consultants whether they're interested in you know, in submitting their qualifications for your services. I do think a budget ahead of time would be a good idea. At least some kind of a ballpark budget would be a good way to go. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to just volunteer for the strategy group. I know that might push us over the edge of like special meeting, or I'm not sure of the rules. If it's too many people, then I can stay out of it. But
I think 3 is your limit for a committee of this size.
yeah,
And we can switch it up later. Like I think we discussed last time that they'd be kind of fluid appointments of these little subcommittees. That way we can get different perspectives and things like that.
but we can offer, so maybe not be part of the committee per se, but like, let's say a draft scope of project is developed by the subcommittee. Is that allowed to be, that's like we did with the bylaws, right? It can be reviewed by a couple of other folks and then that doesn't count as a meeting.
The taxi. I'll take the taxi.
Or it can be, sorry, go ahead, Eric.
I'm sorry, Lisa, I didn't mean to interrupt. But yes, I would say, you know, your committee works on it and then you put it before the full committee for consideration.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments, concerns regarding?
I have one more. If we're prepping to do, kind of get our name out there and get flyers before the Parks Department events, can we print those, can the printing of those flyers go through the city, Eric? Like, do you have, I mean, could we just use the copy machine or?
Sure. You send them to us electronically and we'll make copies.
Okay.
By the way, that flyer is very nice.
April put that together.
Way to go, April. Looks good. Okay, is there anything that we are missing discussing tonight? Any further questions? Any further comments?
So are we voting next month on positions?
Say that again, on positions?
Yeah, for our official positions, because I know it's been brought up by some people that are currently in position. That we were supposed to have a vote once we came up with a way to vote. And I think, yeah, we had talked about doing it this month, but I don't think we put it on the agenda. So I was wondering about next month.
Since we'll know they're voting, we should probably go ahead and put that on the agenda for May to go ahead and vote to finalize positions. I don't know what else. There's chair and then what else?
So co-chairs, secretary, I think that's it.
Yeah.
So wouldn't you have to nominate right now in order to vote in May? Or is, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how city stuff works. So it's like, do you have to present a slate and then it has to be out for a certain amount of time and then it gets voted on? Or
I think it's whatever we put in our bylaws. I think we outlined it in our bylaws, how we wanted it to be. And I don't think we put a timeline on nominations and voting. So like it potentially could all be in the same.
I'm pretty sure in our bylaws, we kind of just said that, yeah, we broke down certain things, like you could self-select or you could like select somebody else with their permission. Those are really the only two things that I remember being about appointments, at least. That was important.
Okay.
It is not uncommon for committees of this sort where somebody makes a nomination from the floor and a vote is taken, or somebody seconds and a vote is taken, and you just elect people that way. So it doesn't necessarily have to be on an agenda. Names don't necessarily have to be on an agenda ahead of time.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other concerns for voting? Any further announcements? Anything going on in the city that we need to discuss?
Tonight, there's a mayoral candidate interview process happening right now. I believe it will be posted. I know it happens through the North Kansas City Neighbors page, but it is posted somewhere else in an email format or in a YouTube format by Mindy Hart. But both of our mayoral candidates are having one-on-one interviews tonight. So if you guys wanted to go and check those out, could be helpful to making decisions on the 6th.
Awesome. Voting is here on the 6th at the YMCA. So come check us out. We have a lot of events going on that are free for families and socially distanced and safe. So check us out.
I was going to mention one more thing. Sorry. When I was on the NKC website the other day, I did notice the general NKC alerts and announcements like text page or the text messaging service. That seemed very much in line with, I think, our committee and what we do in terms of spreading the word. And I was just wondering if that might be an avenue for us to reach people, if we know how many people have signed up for that, and be able to send a text about, who we are, especially before an event, when we have a meet and greet or something like that.
I think that would be
Yeah, we can use that service to let people know that you've got something coming up. Yes.
Right. Good idea. All right. Any further discussion or updates? Anything? I see head nods, shaking. Okay. Well, if that is everything, then our meeting of the North Kansas City Equity and Inclusion Committee is adjourned at 8:26 p.m.
All right. Y'all are amazing.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
See everyone.